Now today, we are going to take the idea of graphing an inequality to the next step. Yesterday, you had car miles plus SUV miles, and that had a total of 1,000 miles, right? And we didn't want to go more than 1,000 miles, so we turned it into an inequality. Well, now this problem is a little bit more challenging because now we're adding in the idea of producing CO2. And the car and the SUV do not produce the same amount of CO2. So our equation is going to be a little bit different. We know the car produces 0.75 pounds of CO2 per mile. So for every mile, I'll produce 0.75 pounds of CO2. Well, with the SUV, I think it's 1.5 pounds. Let me double check. Let's go over here. 1.25 pounds, I'm sorry. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, you guys want the donuts? I don't want them.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Pastor gets a full one, you two have to split it.
Okay.
So, the SUV produces 1.25 pounds of CO2 per mile.
Okay. No. Okay, you put it in half. I get to choose things.
Yes, Mrs. Stoddard? So a third of them I have, and I gave them back to you. Matt should have the other 2/3.
Okay. So tomorrow, where are you going to put that?
I've given you everything that I have, so Matt has the other 2/3.
Okay. Because I'm not going to get it.
I'll text him right now. I'll text him.
Okay.
So, and this all is going to have to be. I'm going to scoot this over. Sorry that you had to listen to that side conversation. And so this is all going to be equal to, in this case, because we're looking for exactly. So that's how you know it's equals. So that's going to have to be exactly 600 pounds of CO2. So here's the deal. There are two ways you can do it. One way is to create a table, and I highly recommend going about that way. Or you could get this into S equals M times C plus your B value, y equals mx plus b. But really quickly, let's take a look at this. The easiest way to think about this is if the car goes 0 miles, how far can the SUV go? Yep. So let's put 0 in for here, so 0.75. Our C value is 0. Well, obviously 0 times anything is 0. Plus 1.25 S is equal to 600. What's the opposite of multiplying S by 1.25? Dividing S by 1.25. So we're going to get the SUV can be driven. I'll pull up my calculator. 600 divided by 1.25, and I get 480 miles. And that makes sense because the SUV produces more than 1 pound of CO2 per mile, so I can't go 600 miles. Well, what's the next easiest thing to plug in? Well, the next easiest thing to plug in is what happens if I don't drive the SUV at all? How far can the car go? And so the process is the same. Instead of S, what am I going to plug in? I'm going to plug in 0. So we have 0.75 C plus 1.25 times 0 is equal to 600. Well, obviously, anything times 0 is 0. What's the opposite of multiplying C by 0.75? Dividing by 0.75. Dividing by 0.75. So we get 6,000 now. 600 divided by 0.75. We get 800. So that means if you don't drive the SUV at all, you can drive the car 800 miles. Now, I leave it to you to pick other numbers and pick nice, easy numbers like 100, 200 to complete your table. But the easy way to now do this is you have two reliable points you can plug in. When the car is driven 0 miles, the SUV can go 480. When you drive the SUV 0 miles, the car can go 800 miles. And then you can connect the dots. Now, that's a brief how-to for problem A. It is up to you in problems B and C to turn, in problem B, you're going to turn this into an inequality, and in problem C, you're going to have the circumstance where you have a minivan instead of an SUV, and a hybrid instead of a car. But the premise is the same. So that's what you're doing today. You're expected to finish everything in this investigation by the end of class. Good luck.